All right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Jomo Stewart here at the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. It is right around 8 o'clock in the a.m. Tuesday, January 18th. I hope everyone had a good and reflective Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today, we have as our guests the Interior Gas Utility, representatives of the Interior Gas Utility, Miss Elena Sudduth, to give us an update regarding the Interior Gas Utility, kind of our customary midwinter update. And they have had a bit of excitement, so it'll be good to get this update. So if I may, without further ado, Miss Elena, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jomo. I'm going to attempt here to share my screen. Can everyone see it?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Thank you for having us today. We gave an update to FEDC not that long ago, but we thought that today we would give kind of a year-end review and a outlook for 2022. What's happening here at Interior Gas Utility with the Interior Energy Project. So I'll just get into it, but if anyone has any questions at any point, I am more than happy to have this as a conversation where we can keep them to the end, however you might prefer. So when we look at 2021, we at Interior Gas Utility feel pretty proud of what we have been able to accomplish. And we started the year in January really strong by signing a contract with Hillcorp. So there are a few reasons why this contract is a big deal and why it is so important to the residents of our community. First, this contract is a 5-year contract with 2 3-year extensions. And the 2-year extensions are at the sole discretion of IGU. So it's only we can pull back, Hillcorp cannot. And this contract gives us price stability. It has the price of that the utility pays for natural gas does go up slightly every year. We actually started with a decrease in the price at the beginning of this contract, which is always a good news. But in a world where not too much is stable, this contract does give us price stability for the next up to 11 years. Shortly thereafter, in February, we brought natural gas to North Pole. As we all know, North Pole has some of the worst air quality around, and natural gas is going to be a good, strong partner in cleaning up the air and having the ability to give the North Pole residents the ability to have an alternative energy source is a great thing to have. We've talked about the national awards in this group before, so I won't go too much into it, but we received the safety award that we are really proud of because we have received it as compared to all of the publicly owned national gas utilities in the country. In a environment when not everybody had such heavy of a construction season as we did, because we were busy at work putting the North Pole storage and vaporization facility together, having received the safety award just demonstrates our commitment to the safety of our employees and our customers and our community in general. Then we also received the marketing award for the event that we have put together, cutting that ribbon at the North Pole storage site. So everything on this page is really intertwined. And I'll go to the next page. So the new services, we have installed 311 new services both in Fairbanks and North Pole. That is everybody who has requested natural gas service. We have been able to install services for everyone, and they are slowly turning on. Everybody has 6 months from the moment they that we install their service to when they have to turn on. And the reason that is because the utility heavily subsidizes the cost of the installation. We only charge $225 for a residential customer for 100 feet of of service line, and that amount is $350 for a commercial customer. In reality, it's costing us about 10 times that amount. We are subsidizing the cost in return for a commitment to turn on and start using natural gas within 6 months. If that doesn't happen, we will give extensions. Sometimes it's a case-by-case basis, but otherwise our tariff says that we have to charge the entire amount that it costs the utility to install that service line. We have also installed more than 6 miles of main lines during the construction season, and I'll go into this just a little bit. As you probably know, IGU was always meant to be built in phases. Phase 1 in North Pole has been fully constructed and gasified, and then the remaining phases, it goes up to 6. They would have been installed with monetary commitments. So, but we still do have, outside of these blocks of main lines that we would install, we still have a relatively small budget every year to do mainline extensions. So we do them. Last year the budget was $1 million, and that's what paid for. I believe it's more like 6.5 miles of main lines. So we extend those main lines based on customer interest. We look at the areas that are closest to our main lines that would impact the most customers, and we make those decisions on a case-by-case basis within our budget, just thinking about feasibility and thinking about what would benefit most customers in the community. So then I spoke briefly about that 6 months commitment, and when when customers are unable to meet that commitment, the most cited reason is that they cannot find a contractor to work on their natural gas appliances. And we thought it was a serious issue, because we are only as successful as our customers have the ability to switch to natural gas fully. And so we looked at the contractor community for help. So we have created some workshops where we have invited every mechanical contractor that was available to work on natural gas appliances. We have educated them on our processes, because it's important that they know what our common customer is going through in order to get a natural gas installation. And then we have requested that they commit to a few things, such as, to give us their updated license and bonding and registration, which is like an easy one. But of course, we have to make sure that they are qualified to do the work that they are saying they are doing. We are looking at their certifications. We are asking that they guarantee that they can go to a customer's premises and give them an estimate at no cost to the customer, and so on. So now we have a network of contractors. Just yesterday, I have talked to a new potential one. There's about 10 of them that we have a relationship with. We know that they are qualified to do the work that they are that our customers need. So now we have, and we sometimes offer to the customers, if they are having a hard time, we offer that we send their information to the contractors, and a lot of customers appreciate that. And then we have moved into the first building that the utility has ever owned, and we have managed to do that at no significant additional cost compared to what we were paying when we were leasing our old building. So if you haven't been here, it's a beautiful building. You are more than welcome to stop by at any time. Now, to look ahead at 2022, Buildback Better is gonna
actually, Ms. Elena,
go ahead.
You're covering a lot of really great ground very quickly. I did just want to offer to the group, if you have any questions, please know that you may lob them in the chat box. Oh, I see one just showed up, but you may also simply unmute yourself and ask questions. I do see we have a question here in the chat box. What is the current burner tip price for residential customers? Or are we going to cover that later in the presentation?
No, that was not burner tip priced. Does that, so there are two things to consider. Is a residential customer switching their boiler? So a lot of boilers can be converted. So you can just switch the burner. And that comes at about $2,500 to $3,500 if you just switch the burner of your existing boiler. That will not result in any increased efficiency, which is a we can talk about that, but natural gas boilers are a lot more can be a lot more efficient than oil boilers. Oil boilers usually run about 85% efficient on their peak. And then natural gas boiler can run as high as 98% efficient. And then if we're talking about a complete change out, a new natural gas boiler, those run a lot more expensive, of course. I believe that the average is about $17,000. It goes probably from about 15 to up to 20. And one thing that we are going to talk about here in just a minute is the Fairbanks North Star Boroughs grants that will assist potential customers with that conversion, both the converting a boiler and switching and getting a new boiler. Does that answer the question?
No, I think that, well, it answers another question, but I think this questioner's question regarded the actual price of gas, and really, do we have any understanding?
I apologize.
Break-even price against oil? Sure.
Yes. So natural gas to residential customer is $2.08 a CCF, which natural gas per CCF is less efficient than oil per gallon. So when you break down natural gas, a CCF of natural gas has 100,000 BTUs, while a gallon of oil has about 135,000 BTUs. Natural gas is equal to oil. So if you pay $2.80 per gallon of oil, you will not see any savings from natural gas. So they're equal at $2.80. On oil delivered in the Fairbanks North Star Borough area right now is about $3.50. So it is significantly more expensive than natural gas today.
And actually, the last time I did a U-fill, I want to say it was, well, one place was about $2.95, another place was $2.99. So it sounds like they've already crossed over. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
First, and I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question initially.
There'll be a further follow-up question regarding on-bill financing, switching to wood to gas, but it sounds like you were about to talk about conversions. So maybe we can do those as a piece. Sure.
Yeah, I'll talk about oil to natural gas conversion, and I can definitely add the wood to natural gas conversion to that conversation. And I can actually go into that. They are not in no particular order. So Fairbanks North Star Borough has a lot of money still left in the wood to natural gas conversion program. And when I say a lot, it's like $14 million. And that pays $10,000 per appliance. So if someone were to have more than one wood burning appliance and they were to agree to get rid of them to pay for their natural gas installations, they would get $20,000. So the oil to natural gas conversion program was a lot smaller. It had about $1 million back in 2019, and that money has since been allocated. The Assembly did vote recently to add another $1 million from their American Rescue Plan Act allocation to a well to gas conversion program, and that has been voted in. The air quality is now preparing to go back in front of the Assembly so that they can discuss the application and the rules and the amounts and so on. And that is happening in March. There are 3 different meetings in March with parts of the Assembly, and then there is a public comment session at the end of March. I believe it's on the 23rd, but I don't quote me on that. So sometimes in March, at the end of March, those applications will open to customers, and they can be combined. So let's say somebody has a wood stove and they have a oil boiler. So the amounts would differ that they get per appliance, but one could combine up to 3 appliances that are either oil or wood to pay for 1 natural gas appliance. Or you can get a different one. You can get a generator, you can get a fireplace or a boiler. And that is a question that we have received a lot recently. If with a natural gas generator, your all of your natural gas system will run in absence of electricity. Are there any other questions, Jomo, on this subject, or should I move on to a different one?
Certainly, I think we'll be asking Mr. Nick Zarnecki to come give us a further, fuller update regarding the conversion program, because that was very interesting information. But no, if you want to jump up to the Build Back Better, well, I would open it up to the group. Does anyone have any questions regarding conversions or that specific item? Certainly, that sounds like some really good assistance. So I'm really glad to hear about that. I have to consider it myself this spring. So how about Build Back Better?
Sure. Yes. Build Back Better. I'll briefly go back to explain what it was. We didn't get it, but it was exciting. So Build Back Better was a grant that we have formed a consortium to apply for. So Fairbanks North Star Borough, Matsu Valley, Matsu Borough, Alaska Railroad, and IGU all got together to apply for a grant that would have first expanded our liquefaction capacity. IGU has owns and operates a liquefaction plant down in Point McKenzie. We liquefy our own natural gas. We truck it up to Fairbanks. The Build Back Better would have paid for expanding that liquefaction plant, would have paid for extending the railroad to it, and then creating 3 railroad spurs, 1 to our Point McKenzie liquefaction facility, 1 to our Pegger Road, Tria Road storage and vaporization site, and then 1 to our North Pole one. Although we didn't get it, we still, the reason I still put it here is because this has been an incredible partnership that was formed between these 4 entities that we get together. Of course, nobody's anybody's enemy, but being able to collaborate on such a big level with all of these very important entities for our state was a great success. And we are continuing to talk about ways we can still make that happen. So no big updates here about how we're going to make that happen next, but just know that we are, we know about each other, we know about each other's goals, we know when our goals cross. And so having allies and working towards common goals is going to get us there a lot faster.
Elena?
Go ahead.
Couple questions. So one question specifically on this subject, the application. What was the relative scale of cost for the things that you were asking for, or that the group was asking for? By the way, FEDC was happy to support that application. But do we have a, kind of a ballpark on larger, expanded liquefaction capacity in those railroad spurs?
Yes. So to break it down, Titan 2, that's we call it Titan 2. Our IGU liquefaction facility is called Titan. The expansion would be called Titan 2. Titan 2, according to estimates that were done before the pandemic, was going to cost about $70 million. The project in its totality would have been $200 million, but the grant only funded up to $1 million. So we have made that application knowing that we would have to share a significant part of that cost, and we would have allocated the cost between the entities.
So it's a, kind of a order of magnitude for the railroad extensions, we're looking at, as a community, or as a state, somewhere around $100 million.
The railroad wasn't gonna, so the planned railroad goes all the way to Port Mackenzie. That was gonna get the railroad about halfway. So yes, they would have gotten their share of cost to get halfway to Port Mackenzie would have been about $100 million.
Okay, so those, inflation costs could keep going up. Okay, thank you. I guess one more question regarding the Build Back Better. So again, regarding this first tranche of federal monies that have come down, are there any further funds that have been identified that might be able to help with things like extensions, like say mainline extensions, distribution line extensions, or liquefaction capacity? Anything you all might need?
We are looking at the new infrastructure plan to see if we might be able to identify any specifically targeted funds for a purpose such as ours. We don't currently have any hot leads that we can talk about.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Oh, I guess we did have one further question. I don't know that you said it. I thought that the new LNG train for Titan II would be 3 BCF. Is that about right on the nameplate?
Say that again, the new what?
Titan II would be about 3 BCF per year production capacity.
So right now we produce about, let me get back to you about that.
Okay.
What I can tell you is that it would triple our existing capacity, but I'll have to get back to you about what that actually means in BCFs.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, so going further to natural gas service. We have a pro forma that guides our goals, and that pro forma is set for several years in advance. I've mentioned earlier that we've installed 311 services last year that outperformed our pro forma. Oh, how many times can I say a word that has PR in it? For next year, that goal is 600 new services. So I put here that service maps are available at interiorgas.com, and I don't believe that I have ever demonstrated that tool to you. So if we have time at the end, I'd be happy to demonstrate a really cool tool that that can show someone how far they are from a distribution line.
Yes, please.
So I'll do that at the end if you don't mind, Jim. The question that came up, and maybe this is a lot more details than you all care for, but I'll run through it quickly. So our goal is 600. How many do we have now? We have fully approved for construction for 2022. The number is 41. So not alarming at all. We are quite on track as to what we expect to see. We receive more than double our total, more than half of our total applications in May and June. As we get closer to our construction season, people start thinking more about it. But we have 41 fully approved for construction, and that means that the customer fully committed by signing all of our paperwork, and we have fully committed by either having a main line right in front of their property, or having agreed to extend that main line. And then we have another 87 requests that are someplace in the process. And we think that at least we know for a fact that at least half of them will be added to our approved for 2022 construction. But we are soon going to start really targeted. We know who is within 100 feet of our main line, so we're going to start targeted marketing for that. Now, this applicant profile is interesting from a sense of just knowing who all is interested in natural gas. 40% of people who apply do not have a mainline immediately available. So some of them need very small mainline extensions that can be done with our operational budget. Some of it we cannot do unless there is that bulk funding that I was talking about before to do mainline extensions in phases. 80% are residential properties, 20% are commercial properties. About 40% of them are in North Pole, although I'm interested in that how that might change now that we have natural gas service in North Pole, and people know about it now and can plan for it. Getting natural gas is not a on the moment decision. It takes a little bit longer for a customer to be in our sales funnel, if you will, and then we would if we had any other kind of a product that is just easy to get to. And then about 60% of all who apply end up being approved for construction, either because we already have a main line in front of them or we can extend the main line. I'm getting to the end of this part here. Quick reminder that this summer, always call 811 before you dig. Everybody will send their locates to your property, and everybody's going to have a safe construction season. It's a free service. It's also the law. And then that concludes my my formal presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, well, we zipped right through that, y'all. Okay, so I would open up the floor to questions. Do we have any? I do see there is one in the chat box. Per your earlier comment regarding mainline extension in 2021, do you have any additional mainline plans for 2022?
Yes, we do. We haven't went through our budgetary process fully just yet, as our board hasn't approved we are on a fiscal year budget, so our board hasn't approved our next year's budget, so I cannot tell you how much exactly we're going to have for mainline extensions in 2022, but we have been receiving and approving some short mainline extensions.
And Jomo, on that exact same point, and Elena, thank you, is very informative. Even it may have seemed brief, but there was a lot of meat there. The mainline extensions may well again be in North Pole, but it sounds like because when people make a request and you can't quite reach them, you're doing mainline lips in Fairbanks as well, it sounds like.
Yes, we are. We are also working with other utilities, especially the water company. So when they are, we're looking at opportunities to share cost. We're also looking at, for example, we just found out that the Cowell Street project is going to be delayed a year, but we're working with the city to see if we can install a natural gas line at the same time as they already have the trench open. So that we are also looking at those cost sharing opportunities that will end up saving our community money.
Rep. Laban, I see you've taken yourself off mute. Do you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Jomo, and a nice presentation. For a homeowner that wants to connect to natural gas, you have a list of contractors available to do the conversion on the boiler, or I guess if the boiler cannot be converted, then replacement of the unit. And assuming that the homeowner wants to move forward, Does IGU and the contractor work together with a homeowner to complete the application form, make it nice and easy to move forward? And I would assume too that you have capacity for this summer if a homeowner wanted to do something this summer.
Yes, so your first question about whether or not we work together with the contractor for the benefit of the homeowner, absolutely, yes. There are two questions that are a little bit harder for our for our residential customers especially to figure out as they are doing their application, and that is what is their requested delivery pressure and what is their expected BTU load. For some people that is very easy. For some, they need the help of a contractor to figure those things out. But those are both very important for us as we process applications. So very, very often we will work directly with the contractor to figure that out and finalize an application for a customer. We do not at this point guarantee any type, we cannot, right? We cannot guarantee any contractor availability, although we are constantly working with them. We are doing presentations to the contractors, much like this presentation. We are telling everybody that we are going to install 600 lines in the Fairbanks and North Pole area next year so that they are prepared. IGU has always held a stance that we do not want to get into private business. We're in the way of private business by way of having our own mechanical contractors on staff, or I don't know, bringing any from Anchorage. We haven't considered any of those things, but to the point where our current mechanical contractor community can keep up, we are not going to get in the way. We're only going to help everyone. Should that not be the case anymore, we will work for the benefit of the customer.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually very much. Those are just the two questions you highlighted. Of course, are questions that I could not answer off the top of my head. Things like what pressure would you like the gas delivered and how many BTUs are you going to be using as far as load? Well, it's good that you all have, you had talked for some time about that kind of relationship with the contracting community. So it's nice to see that that's come together, and it looks like it's a little easier and more convenient for the customer, again, as far as acquisition of a contractor to do the work.
Right.
We do have a question in the chat box, and it regards the natural gas storage. And that is, where are we as far as filling up the tank or tanks? Although that ebbs and flows.
Say that again. I'm sorry, Jomo.
Although that ebbs and flows, because you do some level of, really the whole plan was to do extra filling in the summer so that you could use it to levelize on the way down through the winter months.
Right. We receive natural gas deliveries pretty much every day. Like when there were the storms, we have asked our drivers to stand down for a couple of days, but we receive natural gas deliveries reliably every day. But with about halfway full, our big 5.25 million gallon tank can, in the worst of winter and at the coldest of times, supply enough for our entire customer base for 30 days. And it's only about half full because we don't need it more than that.
Okay, so good security of supply.
And the other
which is why we wanted those tanks to begin with.
Right.
Yes.
The other important part about the supply in North Pole, we have, if full, about 150,000 gallons of storage capacity. That is plenty for our existing customer base, which they're turning on every day. So I don't have a fully accurate number, but it's not more than, it's less than 50 people that we have in North Pole as connected customers right now. And should the need arise, we can always transport between our storage sites. So we could always take from our big tank to take to North Pole and vice versa. We also have a smaller we call it storage site one. That's the what Fairbanks had initially before the construction of the big storage tank. So that is still functional. That helped us a lot when we had our November incident. We were able to switch to that, but it does that smaller storage, storage tank also has natural gas in it.
As you've mentioned it, I don't know if you'd like to take a moment to talk about the November incident.
Absolutely.
It was a little unfortunate, but I would like to give you the chance to crow about the response of your team, which was superb. Please.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to talk about it. So in November, what happened was an equipment failure. So a vaporizer failed and it stopped as it should have, but it stopped a little too late. We are now trying to, not trying, we are doing a lot to make sure that never happens again. But as a result of that, so in the storage tank, we keep very cold natural gas. So it is liquid is at negative 260 degrees. It then goes through an entire process to get vaporized and inserted into the distribution system as gas. Because the vaporizer failed, either cold natural gas or semi-liquid, we don't know yet, entered the lines, which the lines aren't meant for cold gas, they're meant for warm gas. And one of the main ones leaving the storage site has ruptured, creating then a decreased pressure throughout our system. It was what they call a rolling brownout. So the pressure didn't drop throughout the entire system all at once. It went as a wave, if you will. So as some customers were losing pressure, others were gaining pressure. Our team has responded immediately. Our general manager was there all night fixing it, and then we now have. Let me finish talking about that before I tell you what we're doing now. But they have the entire incident from the moment the first customer lost pressure to the moment the last one gained it was 18 hours. No one customer had experienced loss of pressure for that long. Depending on what kind of devices they were using, some customers never realized that anything happened, and some customers nothing happened to them. But a lot of devices self-ignite. So after the system has received the appropriate amount of pressure, their boiler restarted itself. We have hired private contractors to assist our team in relighting the appliances that don't automatically relight. And we have a follow-up with every customer personally, just to make sure that that they are okay. What we are doing now is we have hired somebody else whose entire he is on a part-time temporary contract, and his entire job is to fully understand each portion of what happened, so that we can change what has caused that error, what has allowed this error. We are also staffing the storage site 24/7 until we have fully went through our review.
Okay. Yeah, if there's any truth to life, challenges do arise, the unexpected ones particularly. And it's not that you have problems, it's how you react to them. And again, it's from what I heard from your board meeting in particular, your staff, all of your staff, it was a all hands on deck moment, and all hands were on deck and expeditiously righted the problem. So that's all we would ever ask and can ask from any utility.
And the other thing that I would just like to add is that we have been operating in the Fairbanks area for more than 20 years. And this is the first and only significant incident that has ever happened in 20 years.
Outstanding. That's why you won those awards. Mr. Soley, I see your hand is up. Please, sir.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Elena, for your presentation and especially your discussion here about how you handled the outage. I want to go back though, if you would, to your comments regarding the natural gas contract in Cook Inlet with Hillcorp. And I was listening to hear some prices, and I'm not sure I did. I don't know if you can disclose the price that you negotiated with Hillcorp and the escalators. Can you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Absolutely. And yes, I can disclose it. And in fact, I believe, I will look for it, but I believe the entire contract is on our website as a publicly owned utility. There are no secrets, right? Because everything that
Right.
we do is for the benefit of the public. So initially, I might have to just send the contract to the entire to this entire group, and I apologize. I don't know all that much about it. What I can tell you is that in the first 2 years of the contract, which was last year and this year, we have actually went down in the cost that we are paying per unit from what we were paying prior to the contract, and then it goes up slightly ever so slightly every year. Now, this is the price that the utility pays for the natural gas, not the price that the customer pays. We have not changed our prices since 2017, and we don't intend to do that. I mean, the board does make those changes, but I don't believe that we intend to do that this year either. I will send the contract to the group with a short explanation.
Thank you.
But my recollection of the description of the contract, again, is with Hillcorp, of course, you do end up paying just a little bit of a higher price. But again, it is the price of security because they do have a very robust system and good deliverability. But again, the contract included quite a bit of flexibility on the end of the IGU. So it's the best of, well, it's the best of both worlds. Okay, you get the stability, a little bit of flexibility when you need it or want it.
If I may talk about that flexibility, Jomo, thank you for that reminder. The contract does allow us, should we find a cheaper way to buy natural gas, it does allow us to purchase it from somewhere else. So we can, if we find LNG at a cost that is cheaper than what it cost us to liquefy it ourselves and buy from Hillcorp and liquefy it ourselves, we can do so. The contract also has a minimum purchase that is tailored around what our current use is. And we can increase that significantly. Like, let's say, should Fort Wainwright decide to switch to natural gas for their power plant, or should GVA start purchasing it? Should any big consumer come along, we do have the capacity to increase the amount that we are purchasing from Hillcorp with an 18-month notice.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Jomo. Elena, part of your discussion there made me think again of the possible transfer of natural gas by rail instead of by road. I know that's been entertained, and we've done it where it hasn't been done outside. I was just wondering if that's still plausible. By plausible, yes, the new sidings and that would enable that, which would be wonderful. It would take it off the highway. But likelihoods, do you have a sense? It kind of depends. It's going to take a number of millions to get that the connections at the various sites. I'm just wondering, gosh, can I hope that that'll be there in 4 years or whatever, just for the benefit of the state and the interior?
So all of our facilities are within several hundred feet of so our two storage and vaporization facilities, both in Fairbanks and North Pole, they are within a couple hundred feet of the railroad. The Titan plant down in Point McKenzie is within a couple hundred feet of the proposed railroad extension. So should the railroad get the funds to build to Port McKenzie, which has been, as you know, a strategic goal of the state of Alaska for several years now, the railroad is also looking at the possibility of the infrastructure funds being able to help pay for that extension. So should the railroad extend another 18 miles, I believe, is what's needed, is about halfway to Port McKenzie that our Titan is. That would the cost to extend those little rails to our facilities is minimal. So IGU does not have control over what the railroad does. We would be more than happy to partner with them in any way, any kind of application that they might have, and write letters of support and whatnot. But it's all dependent on the railroad, and they are looking at it, both the railroad as an entity and the state of Alaska as a government.
Right, and if I can add too, it's my impression too that it's not just a daydream. Not only does the right-of-way exist, but they've done some preparatory work, I think clearing, and then a little bit of bad preparation. So yes, there's some millions to go, but it's it's well envisioned. If only we could find the sugar daddy to provide the funds.
Right, there are design files and all kinds of preliminary work. But yes, sugar daddy is that's easy to find.
All right, well, let's see. It looks like we're about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Actually, Elena, you are still the co-host. We talked about possibly going to the website, and I wonder if we could here in the last 10 minutes, yes, go to the website. We can maybe check out that tool to see, so people can help figure out where they are relative to gas lines. But also it'd be nice to see where, get a quick navigation to how one might apply for natural gas, because I assume it can all be done through the website.
Yes, it can. I was actually searching, as I was talking, I was searching to see if the contract with Hillcorp is on the website, so that I can send a link to Rick and the other ones who might be interested, but that's incoming. Okay, so we have redesigned our website recently, and we have created two rather specific paths for current customers to pay their bill and to figure out financial assistance and their form and such, and for new customers. So all of the things that I have talked about as far as a new customer path would be is all in here. So the sign up for service installation providers, I'll go to that first if you don't mind. That is the contractors that we were talking about. They're all here with their contact information. So if they are on here, it means that they have been through the process that I have earlier described.
Well, there's several.
There are a lot. Some of them don't have a visit website bar because they do not have a website, but they have their contact information here. And there are some that are independent contractors, and there are some that are big companies and union type contractors, and all kinds of different categories there.
Actually, could you scroll just a little lower? I see participating contractors, but then I saw participating suppliers. So
yes.
These suppliers would be where you might go to actually look at appliances.
Yes. So we have three big suppliers, three big local suppliers in the Fairbanks area. They're Keller, Ferguson, and Frontier. We are in constant communications with them as well, because that is the other thing that a customer would need is their appliance, and we need to make sure that they either have things in stock or that their delivery time isn't crazy, so that doesn't create any additional hurdles for our customers.
Now, remember at the old IGU office, they did have some examples of appliances. If we were to come to your new shop, would there be samples of appliances, and would they be, again, the samples that you have, would they be some that would be sold by these suppliers?
Good question, Jomo. If you came today, all we have is a wood stove. I mean, I'm sorry, a gas stove by Woodway. That is the first piece in our showroom. We are going to have a showroom here, and it's going to be a lot more elaborate than what you saw at our old office before. We are working with each of these suppliers, as well as with Woodway and any others that have any interest in displaying what they might have. One thing, and maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag early, but as soon as the air quality, the FNSB Air Quality Office is going to release those funds for people to be able to apply for assistance. We are going to have, if you will, a first Friday, natural gas first Friday here at the office, where we would invite Nick Zarneski and his team to have a booth, and then we will have we'll invite every participating contractor. Will hopefully have the showroom that is supplier dependent, but we're hoping to have that ready. So in theory, should all of the stars align, one would have a customer would just come in and they would apply for their natural gas service, and they will apply for their grant, and they will figure out, they'll talk to a contractor and pick one, and they will look at the available boilers and pick a boiler, and then have all of that done under one roof.
Oh, well, please, when that comes together, if you'll please forward me the information, we'll make sure it gets out to the group.
Of course.
Thank you.
So then the map, if you go under new customers and then you go service map, here is the map that we have available here. So once it opens, you can see the two, the Fairbanks and the North Pole natural gas lines. So I'm going to put the address of our new office here. And here it is. So this is our building, and you can see we have a natural gas line on two sides of this property. So in theory, depending on where my mechanical room is, I could have a natural gas line ran from a few different angles here. So one thing that we are working on as an addition to this map. So I spoke earlier about the phases. So while it's good that these customers have access to natural gas, as we know, there are a lot of other people who live in the surrounding areas that do not have immediate availability. So I actually just reviewed the first draft yesterday of we are going to add the planned phases to this map. So let's say your address comes up somewhere right here on Lisa Ann Drive, and it's just an empty spot, then you have no idea how far you are from the main line, or when natural gas might be able to come your way. You are now going to see a shaded area. Let's say this is red, and red means phase 3. So while we still cannot guarantee a specific time when you are where natural gas is going to get to there in phases, because this is so dependent on external budget, at least we're going to be able to give people an understanding of what has to happen before natural gas lines get to them.
That's neat. Yeah. And
then the application process, we have it under here, new customers sign up for service, and it's a 5-step application process. It can all be done online. It can also be done on paper for people who prefer it that way. But there is first a natural gas service request. This just tells us that someone is interested in getting natural gas. They do not commit to anything by doing this part of the application. It's just basic information, phone number and such. No BTU questions yet. And then if we can confirm that natural gas is available to them and they want to move forward, that's when they fill out the new service agreement, which is that application that's a little bit more in depth, but it gives us absolutely necessary information for us to move forward. After they do that, they can pay all online. As I said, $225 for residential service, $350 for commercial. We then go to a appointment to the site, and we do a site survey. That is when we meet with the home or business owner and they tell us where, if it were only, if it were up to them 100%, where they would have the meter installed. And we have some rules. We don't go behind the house because we have to have access to that meter. We cannot be within a certain distance of electrical meter assemblies or vents or windows and doors that open and so forth. So I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. So we make this appointment, we decide where the meter is going to be installed, what the service line route is. We then install it. Sometimes between June 15th and September 30th. We cannot do much outside of those dates because the ground is still frozen. We absolutely start earlier if we can. And then there's another form that contractors fill out before a customer turns on, and that just says that certifies that the contractor has pressure tested the system and it held at the standards according to the natural gas international fuel code, and that they have permits and such. So the contractor fills out this part of the application, and then we go and turn on natural gas service.
Right. Well, Elena, thank you so much. Excellent presentation. Thank you for that fun walkthrough. That map is really neat. I'm going to go play on that myself when this meeting is over. All right. Well, I will open it up one last time. Are there any further questions from the group? Going once? Going twice? All right. Well, Miss Elena, do you mind stopping your share?
Not at all. I owe two things to the group. I will send them to you, Jomo, for distribution here shortly.
Okay, and if anybody wants a copy, just reach out and let me know. All right, well, everybody, thank you again. Our friends at IGU, thank you so much. Thank you for your continuing hard work on our community natural gas system. We really appreciate it. And again, kudos to all of you, and particularly your staff. You'll please let them know, particularly regarding the November incident. Again, it'd been 20 years, but when it finally came, they stepped up big time. It is so much appreciated. All right, well, let's see. I'm looking. I think she may have just dropped off. Well, I'm trying to get GBEA to come in and be our guest for next week. So I'll let you know how that goes. But in the meantime, again, thank you so much, IGU. Everybody have yourself a great rest of your Tuesday, and we will see you next week.